to my lovely people. It's been a minute. I'm really excited because I have some actual good news to present today. Uh, Actually, I have two pieces of good news. So, first thing is that I think I told you all that I was going to give Splendies one more try and, up the sizing on what I was getting. And I am pleased to report that the new batch that I got this month all fit. And they're a little bit less cute than last month, so, what are you going to do? But I still like them. So we have a very simple pair of briefy types with a little bit of lace. Another pair of briefy types that are even simpler than those. But then this really cute thong that has a ton of lace, and I just really like. So, and they actually fit. So that's awesome. You may notice that I've got some Ravenclaw look makeup going on here. Please forgive all the gray and the grown out roots and everything in my hair. I'm going to be taking care of that before LeakyCon. But I'm just happy that I feel like I finally figured out what I want to do for, believe it or not, the more subtle of the two looks that I'm going to go with when I'm doing dramatic Ravenclaw makeup. So the second piece of good news that I have is that I figured out, for lack of a better word, I'm going to call it a hack for getting thigh highs that stay up. Some of you may remember that I had bought a pair of, and I did not show you guys this because they literally came off and went right in the trash, but I had gotten a pair of faux thigh highs that were from like the mid thigh up were fishnet, and then from the thigh down were solid. So it looked like thigh highs, but they were actually, and they were way too small. Like they would have fit fine if it wasn't for the band at the top of the thigh high section, which was just unmoving. I don't know what the deal was with those. So I liked the look of those, even though they didn't fit. And they gave me an idea. I had shown you guys the, when I tested out the sock glue, that I finally decided to make my own pair of thigh highs by slicing up a pair of black plus size tights. And what I decided to do, and I'm going to show you, is I put those thigh highs on, I glued them in place with the sock glue, and then I pulled on a pair of real fishnets. Check it. Like, my mic is totally in the way. Do you see this? And then I put my bandelettes on so that there's still some like thigh chafing coverage, because fishnets do not keep your thighs from chafing at all. I'm trying to see if there's a better way for me to do this. It's so hard. But I hate to like film from my chair because that didn't go super well for me last time. But I've been walking around with them all day, and it's fine. It's so much better than everything else that I've tried, and it gives me the look that I liked of the other ones. The only thing is that is pretty much only a workable solution if you're trying to do like fishnets and thigh highs of the same color. You can't tell that there are black fishnets over the black thigh highs. They mesh together beautifully. You can't even see it. But if I were to do that over white thigh highs, which is, I actually kind of want to have black for one outfit and white for another, I'd have to get white fishnets, and those are really hard to find, and I'm not sure. The fishnets that I got, these are actually from Leg Avenue, which is the same brand as the ones that I got and threw away. But they're called professional quality fishnets, and if you're going to be buying fishnets, I really recommend that you look for these. I did some research on this, and there are different types of fishnets out there. There are the ones that are just supposed to look cute, and those are much looser fitting. And then the professional quality ones are the ones worn by like dancers. And those, not only do they hold you in much better because the quality of the fishnet is much tighter and more firmly woven together, but they have pads at the sole of the foot. And that's something that I found out the hard way and didn't even think of. If you're wearing fishnets on bare feet, the bottom of your feet are going to start to get really, really sore. Like, again, something that hadn't even occurred to me, but it really starts to hurt after a while. So the fishnets that aren't professional quality are really meant to like be worn as something that you're gonna take off in a few minutes because you're about to bang. Whereas professional quality are meant to be walked around in and actually worn. So yeah, the Legs Avenue were the brand that was offered on the website that carried the plus size thigh highs that did not work for me, Sock Dreams. And they were out of my size on Sock Dreams, but when I looked and saw that there was a brand and that it was Leg Avenue, I was like, oh shit, I think I can just find those on Amazon. And the only reason I risked it again with that brand was because somebody on the Sock Dreams reviews site actually gave her height and weight and said that they still fit her and that it felt at first like they wouldn't fit, but they stretched so much that it wound up being fine. So I decided I was going to risk it, and I'm really, really glad I did. And yeah, I'm just like hopeful that they like. I wish that there was something else that Leg Avenue made that fit me, to be honest. The fact that it's just the fishnets feels a little shitty, but it's nice for there to be anything, and this is where we are with scraping the bottom of the barrel with stuff like that. I'm hopeful that the nude fishnets, and you know, they're called nude, they're white nude, they're for white people. They're, you know, they do have like a pair that I think is called Coffee, but the reviews on that one were iffy. The Coffee is nude for somebody of color, but a lighter of color, and word on the street was that they were a little orangey. But I'll post a link so you guys can take a look if you're interested, because if you are white, apparently the nude is supposed to really like hold you in this way, but still give the appearance of having nothing on or just a very light something on. It's what the Vegas dancers actually use, like on the line, because it gives some support, but you still have that bare flesh kind of like overall aesthetic. And obviously that's something that they're big on in Vegas. So I'm going to try those out too. But obviously I'm wanting to wear the white knee socks for one of the Ravenclaw student outfits. And I don't think nude fishnets over white knee socks is going to be a good look. So I might have to figure out something else. Knee socks, though, won't be as difficult to keep up as thigh highs. They don't fall in that same area of the body. So I'm pretty confident that just some sock glue with those knee socks is going to be all I need. So yeah, I'm feeling very optimistic after all of this. And I'm kind of glad I waited to make this video, because I think I've said to you guys that the intention with doing some of these was to give you all some like positive advice and make you feel like there's somebody out there hearing you and like going through what you're going through, and that I was feeling a little bit down on everything over the past few weeks because of trying so much stuff out and it not working. And when last week I went to visit my mother in Colorado, and I was listening to the Kinsey Millhone Mysteries, which is like the ABC series by Sue Grafton. And I was listening to them on audiobook as I drove, because it was a 12-hour drive each way. It was actually like 13 hours. And it was one of those things where I really enjoyed the series and I had a ton of fun listening to it. But, and this is sort of weird, it was obviously, they're written in the 80s, the earlier ones. And there is some dealing with trans characters and gay characters that is handled real, real well. No judgment at all. She deals with sex work and she's like super non-judgmental about it. The kind of thing that I just don't expect from a writer in that era. And it was very pleasantly surprising. However, the fat phobia, oh boy. it was really hard, guys. There was a point in my drive that I had to pull over and cry because Kinsey Milhone is 5'9" or 5'6", and she's 118 pounds, but she just loves McDonald's and donuts. Listen, I am so tired of this bullshit that we have out there about women who do nothing but eat junk food and yet are tiny. 5'6" and 118 pounds? That means she weighs a third of what I weigh, roughly. I'd have to lose almost 200 pounds. When I was at my thinnest, my very thinnest, I was like 130 pounds. And I was really, like, I've seen pictures of myself and I'm like, I can't believe I ever even was at that weight. It's clearly, it does not look right for my body. But this woman is always talking about, and this woman, I mean the writer, every character, she looked like she'd finally reached a point in her life where her metabolism was no match for the amount of cake she ate. Or, I wondered when the last time was that Melinda had seen her own neck. Or, she was baking a cake and judging by the size of her derriere, she did that a lot. Like, oh my God, the fat phobia is it's out of control in this series, and like I still am listening and I still enjoy them, but it's so insidious, and it's the kind of thing that, you know, there's something about fatness that's like terrifying to people. It really seems that way, and they just can't help but comment on it. And I don't know. And there was a combination of that and some like other stuff that I won't get into, and it just left me at the end of the trip feeling really, really bad about myself. And I was very relieved once I got home, and like it took me a couple days to kind of get my head right again. You know how that is? Whenever you're having a hard time and you get yourself to a spot where you're like, okay, I think I'll feel better if I do this, it almost always takes longer than you think. Even if it does work, it takes longer than you think to work. So I got home and tried to eat, because I was on the road. I was eating garbage, I was eating road food, drive-through shit. So that on top of hearing this was so depressing. And, you hear this character talking about how she's going to the drive-thru and getting Big Macs and fries, but she's 118 pounds, and I'm eating a Big Mac and fries. I wasn't actually, but for example, and at 300 pounds, and it's not cute when I do it, it's cute when she does it. Okay. It's really insidious, and I forget because I am lucky enough that I'm not out in the world talking to a lot of people. Because of the podcast, I can have social interactions that are very closely. There's a gate, I'm gatekeeping who I chat with and talk to. So I forget how much that shit gets thrown around with people not thinking about it. And then I forget how much in media it's really prevalent, because I pretty much only watch things that I've vetted beforehand as not being really gross that way. And that was something that I watched the first 2 or 3 episodes of Veep, and there's a disgusting rant, and I get that it's supposed to be a character thing, but there's this rant where the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character, the vice president, rants about how she can't stand fat people because put down the cupcake, it's not that hard. And it's not just that one sentence. It's a scene of her just ranting and raving about fat people. And it's really, really disgusting. And I get that it's supposed to be maybe more of a commentary on her, but it's one of those instances of satire where they're not being clear enough about who's the butt of the joke here. So it doesn't totally work for me, versus something like Community, where Pierce is making homophobic and racist jokes, but the joke is that Pierce is pathetic and sad and nobody finds him funny. And so they manage to do that, but they do it the right way. And it's just, I don't know, it's kind of a shock, because I feel so confident that we're getting to a better place with a lot of stuff. And that's because of who I surround myself with and how my job works. And I just forget that that's not necessarily true. And, you know, I'm saying this about these books, like I said, were written years and years and years ago. But it's done so casually and so thoughtlessly that it just caught me off guard. And it's one of those, I won't say it's gaslighting because that feels too, but it's one of those things when it's done that casually and you react to it the way that one might if it feels like they're being targeted, then you start to second guess yourself because the narrative continues right along and doesn't bring up weight again. And you're wondering, did I overreact to that? Did they say that? Like, you almost even wonder if it even happened the way that you're remembering it. And I think I was giving this whole series a lot of slack until I started to, like, continue on into, like, the 10th, 11th book and realize that it was not stopping. If anything, there are points when it gets a little worse. The first book is probably the worst one in that regard, but there are some other moments. So, yeah, so I don't know. I was having a really hard time with that, guys, and I'm feeling better now. But it's just can be a huge downer, and I just want to acknowledge that. And if you guys have anything to say about that, I'd be interested to hear. Just things that kind of catch you in media that you otherwise love, because it can be really startling. The last example, this will be the last one, unfortunately, Brooklyn Nine-Nine. There goes a show that is very conscious, and yet there's an episode in an early season, it might be the first season, where a murder victim is a fat guy, and there is nothing but fat jokes for like 10 minutes. And it is really gross. And that goes to show you how acceptable fat shaming is. When somebody is so conscious, like the writer's room for that show is so conscious of being aware and careful about misogyny and homophobia and transphobia, but fat jokes are fair game still. Like, come the fuck on. Can we not? But it's there, you know? So, anyway, I'm sorry to leave it on that note, but I'm really, really happy with Splendies. I'm going to give them another month, and hopefully the next set is a little cuter than this month's. I'm really happy with the compromise that I've reached with my fishnets, and I'm glad that I kept these bandelettes because I wasn't really sure about them, but in combo with the fishnets, they actually work really well. I did have to glue the bandelettes in place with the sock glue also, though, because they tend to want to slide down. And I'm trying to think if there's anything else that I want to mention. I think that's everything. So I'm searching, guys. I'd like to do more videos, but, you know, a lot of the subject matter is sort of dependent on, like, getting items and trying things out. And I have LeakyCon coming up, as you know. And I have been really broke because of spending stuff to pay for the hotel and also get the stuff for, like, the cosplaying and everything for LeakyCon. So I haven't gotten to try other stuff out. So if you guys have, like, subjects that you'd want me to cover and not necessarily a product test, because I can't afford to buy stuff to test with unless you guys want to send me stuff or donate the paypal.me/ bossyfatbabe, I think. Unless you guys want to, you know, send me stuff to try out or do anything like that, I'd be interested in hearing subjects that you want me to talk about. So, yeah, I think that's about it. I hope that you guys, I don't know, I hope that you're doing okay. You guys doing all right? How you doing? It's hard, right? Sometimes. But we're gonna be all right. Love you. I'll see you next week. Fingers crossed.